Hello and welcome to my office and a look at my PC setup. So first thing is my horrible chair, which is going to have to go at some point. It's a bit cheap and nasty, but it does the job for now. And there's a bunch of stuff lying on the floor that we'll get to in a moment. But first, here it is, my desk. And the first thing you'll probably notice is the massive mouse mat. Now, I found this on eBay when my Razer hard surface mouse mat kind of died, and I'd never heard of the people that make it, so it's a Mionix, I don't know, but basically it's just a massive soft mouse mat. Wrist rests came from eBay, or that one is actually cut off the old Razer mouse mat. And then we get to the keyboard. So this is a Roccat Iscu FX. So it's Roccat's non-mechanical gaming keyboard. I'm not a fan of mechanical keyboards, I just don't get on with them, and this is exactly the same as a mechanical keyboard, just without the mechanical switches. So you get all the features you would on their full-blown gaming keyboard. Next to it is the Roccat Cone XTD. Now, best way to describe this mouse is a better version of a Razer Death Adder. So the Death Adder I had before was fine, but the XTD is by far better. It's better built, it feels more solid, it's a slightly better shape, and the buttons are better. So it's a better version of the Death Adder. There you can see my router hiding behind the monitor, and my speakers. So these are dirt cheap Logitech 2.1 speakers. There's a little gizmo over there that does the volume control and lets me plug my headphones in. And under the desk there is a subwoofer. They're about 20 quid, they're cheap and cheerful, and they do the job. I don't see the point in having fancy sound systems for playing games. Now, also connected to this thing is my headset. This isn't the headset that I told you I bought. So I bought a Corsair HS40 and it was pretty bad. So I took it back and got another Speedlink Medusa headset, this time in stereo rather than 7.1, but it's really lightweight, works well. This is my secondary screen. It's a Samsung 22-inch LED screen. Works really well as a second screen. And this is my main screen, which is a Samsung 27-inch LED 3D monitor. It's a 120Hz monitor, and it's basically the best monitor I could afford. Next, move on to the microphone, which is a Samsung CO1U, and again, this is kind of the cheapest quality microphone you can get, and it's bodged together on a stand with elastic bands and sticky tape and all sorts of stuff, because it's all bits I bought from eBay, and again, it's the best I could get on a budget. Right, so onto the PC itself, and this is housed in a Corsair Carbide 500R case. I'll just pull that cable out, and these little filters on the front are magnetic things you can buy off eBay or from a store, and they're basically just filter the air that goes through into the fans. It's a pretty robust case, and the reason I chose this one is because I have Corsair cooling inside my PC, and under this cover, which is a bit tricky to get off one-handed, there is the radiator for my water cooling. So that sits in the top of the case, and the air comes from underneath through the radiator and out the top. So that's a Corsair H100 water cooling system. It's all sealed, so there's no plumbing, but we'll look at that when we get to the inside. So here you can see a rather dirty filter. Filter's there because there's a massive fan on the side of this case, and inside you can see the glowy lights of the PC itself. So let's take a look inside. So this is my PC with a side case taken off, and if we look down here at the bottom, we have two Seagate Barracuda 2TB drives, 7200 RPM, pretty standard hard drives. They're used for all the storage. Up above we've got two 256GB SSDs. There's an OCZ Vector and a SanDisk Extreme. They run Windows and games and the initial recording. Here we have an Asker Venom 1000 watt power supply. It's a modular one, and that powers everything else, including these two Sapphire HD 7970 Dual-X cooled graphics cards. Above those we've got an i7 3820 which runs at 4 GHz, and we've got 16 GB of HyperX Genesis DDR3 memory. These are the fans that blow the air through the radiator in the top of the case, and they're linked by the pipes to the H100 cooling block, and it's all a sealed unit, there's no plumbing to do. In the side of the case there's a very large fan to cool the graphics cards, and that's the insides of my PC. So the rest of my office is pretty standard HP printer. I've got one of these things hooked up to a large power surge block under the desk, and basically that's a remote control that turns everything on my desk off but the router. So I don't have to fiddle around with lots of switches, I just hit a button on remote control and everything on this desk will turn off, which is really handy and stops me leaving things on and stops me having speakers buzzing and all that kind of stuff. The rest of the office is pretty much taken up by shelves, and that's got my DVD collection on it. So I've got quite a lot of DVDs. This is what I used to buy before I had Netflix and Amazon Prime. Got some Blu-rays as well, but to be honest, with my eyesight, can't really tell the difference between Blu-ray and DVD. A bunch of old CDs, some old comic books, and there's a D&D starter set there. More DVDs, and then in here we have a box of stuff. So we got a bag full of case bits, so covers and screws and things. Got a couple of cooling fans, and an old hard drive, and all the cables that come with everything you buy. So I don't throw anything away just in case I might need it, and that's the box it all goes in. And there's also all the boxes for the new bits I bought. So there was the new Sapphire HD 7970 that I bought, and all the fancy features it supposedly has. That's the OCZ Vector SSD that I've just bought as well, and there's the Medusa NX stereo headset box. Went for stereo over 7.1 because I just can't tell the difference, to be honest. And there you can see what happens to a hard surface mouse mat. They tend to wear out, and at 40 quid they're a bit expensive to replace. That's it, that's my PC setup. So if you notice, there's nothing of the current generation of hardware. What I tend to use is the best of the last generation. So I've got the last generation i7, last generation graphics cards, last generation monitors, basically anything you can get that's a bit of a bargain price at the time. So the HD 7970 that I've just bought was £200 rather than £500 for a cutting edge graphics card. The monitor I've got is not 144 Hz all singing or dancing, it's 120 Hz, and it's a slightly older model. And if you do that, you can do things relatively cheaply. Now, I'm not saying my PC was cheap by any means. Still looking at a sizable investment to do a gaming PC on this level. But I've built it up over time. When I first got it, it had one graphics card in, one hard drive in, didn't have any SSDs, only had 8 GB of memory in, and then I've slowly added bits to it when I could afford to. A lot of people tell you the most important thing in a gaming PC is your graphics card. It's not. The most important thing in a gaming PC is your processor, motherboard and memory. Your graphics card you can replace simply by slotting it out, slotting it back in again. The actual processor, motherboard and memory bundle, that's what you need to get right at the start. If you have any questions about my PC, what's inside it, why I bought certain bits or how good they are, then leave them in the comments, and thanks for watching.